I'm just going to go ahead, put that in his ear, and he's got a nice new piercing.
Thank you everybody for joining us again for Chamber Chat. We are live and in person again with Dana Frederick. She is an acupuncture here in Vixen. We are in their beautiful outdoor patio area shooting on one of the heat wave days. So if you see me glistening, you'll know why. So Dana, thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
If you would, just share kind of your business story. How'd you get started?
So I first got introduced to acupuncture probably 15 or so years ago when I was living in San Francisco. I was going for various health concerns, and the provider that I was seeing went to school at Bastyr, and I just always thought to myself, if I end up in Seattle, that's what I want to do. Well, I had that opportunity in 2011, and I graduated from Bastyr in 2016 with a master's in acupuncture and East Asian medicine. And from then on, it's just been, I had a couple kids in between that time and navigating work, life, home balance, and I'm still trying to figure that out, but my kids are a little bit older now, so there's a little bit more stability involved, which makes it easier.
Awesome. COVID. Mm-hmm. We've all had to make changes during COVID.
Yeah.
So for you and your industry, what did that look like?
So on top of being I started at Vixen just in October of 2020. I actually was working out of a yoga studio that I had just started January of 2020. Well, we know what happened in February. Everything was closed down. So I was out of there for a good 8 months or so. And I'm also an acupuncturist at 3 independent living facilities. And I had been doing that for about a year before COVID hit. And once COVID occurred, I was out of the facility for about 6 months. I was able to return there back in August, and I'm there 2 days a week. And my business at the yoga studio never really bounced back. So I approached Corrine, because I've been coming to Vixen for the last 10 years, and asked her, hey, can I sublet a room from you and do acupuncture? And of course, Corrine, being the person she is, was absolutely come on board, and the entire Vixen staff has welcomed me with open arms, and it's been a great decision that happened because of COVID. So I'm thankful for that.
And you were a long-time resident back then.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 10 years. This was our landing spot. We had never visited Seattle when we decided to move up here, and my husband just flew up for a day to look at places, and we fell in love with Magnolia and ended up living here. Yeah.
And so you had options probably in various places in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Why Magnolia for this business now?
The thing I like about Magnolia is Magnoliaites are loyal. Very loyal, and it's a small town community feel. I'm from a small town in Iowa, so I appreciated that. And they're fiercely loyal to Vixen and to their providers, and I just was very humbled by the welcome that I experienced when I moved here. And I love Magnolia. It's beautiful, the people are great, and I'm very thankful to be able to provide acupuncture in the community. Yeah.
So sticking with acupuncture even during COVID, there must be something about the industry that you love.
Yeah, like I said, for many years I had this plan of going into acupuncture, and it kind of, thankfully, I'm very thankful it fell into my lap. The biggest thing I love about acupuncture is there's no one way to do it. You're constantly learning. I'm doing continuing ed all the time because there's so many different modalities within acupuncture. And I think the best way I can provide the best care for my patients is to never stop learning. So I'm always doing continuing ed. I'm a Lamaze trained birth educator. I've done continuing ed in pain management, addictions, digestive health, cosmetic acupuncture, which was kind of put on a hold with COVID, trigger point injection therapy in general. So I'm always figuring out ways I can provide care for my patients.
That's quite the list. For those who might think about tuning out, we are going to do some actual acupuncture today, so you might want to see what happens. But before we do that, what are some things that you are hopeful about in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one. There's definitely been times that I myself, and even hearing it with my patients, they feel like this sense of hopelessness, which is, very common. None of us have really been through a pandemic before, so we're all navigating this pandemic just the best as we can. But I'm hopeful that one day we'll be able to gather with family and friends without masks. We'll be able to hold events again at Vixen. I, for one, am looking forward to that. I'm hopeful that my kids can return to school without masks, that we can all gather and travel. And I think that's absolutely a possibility. We just need to come together as a community. And I think Seattle's a great place for that.
Very good. And finally, before we transition to some actual acupuncture, what are some reasons, we as a chamber have been talking about for months and months now, the love local aspect, how important it is to support small business, especially this time. Why should someone support you and your business?
That's a great question. I am very transparent with my patients, and I tell them up front there's many styles of acupuncture, there's many styles of acupuncturists, and if this relationship doesn't feel right, I would never want somebody to not enjoy their treatments. Above all, I want my patients to come into my treatment room and feel safe and trusted and heard. So that, for me, is more valuable than the actual treatment. Because if you don't have that mutual trust, you are not going to get the care that you are looking for. So I'm very transparent, I'm very honest, and I pride myself on building a relationship with my patients.
So before we transition, for those who aren't familiar with Vixen or your website or socials, what are some ways that they can find out more about you?
Vixen is a great way to find out more about me. I'm bad at social media. It's not my strong suit, but I'm always open for a phone call, a conversation. I do free 15-minute consultations. I am a firm believer that the best way to build relationships is to have a conversation. So I'm less of the social media side and more of the personal relationship side.
That's right. Makes sense. And we'll share information in our notes for this, so people can find ways to reach out to you. So, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
And let's transition.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. We wanted to transition now and demonstrate some of the stuff that Dana does. So we hope you enjoy this. So, Dana?
Yeah, so one of the modalities that I use, and I do have a lot of tools in my toolbox, but typically when a patient comes to see me, I'm always doing some sort of cupping, which people may or may not know about. Michael Phelps sort of made that mainstream. And I'm going to do a little demonstration in Jason's ears with some needles. So I'm going to start with some cupping. Cupping can be used for a variety of reasons. A lot of times people come in and they've been sitting at the computer all day long, they slept on it wrong, they took up a new sports activity and they're really tight and tense, especially in this area, upper neck, upper back. And cupping is just a great way to really get in there and work out that fascia. I often do some running cupping. So what I do is I would put this on the skin and just run the cup all around his back, and it creates the suction. And that just really helps to bring in freshly oxygenated blood, remove stagnation, and it feels really good. So I'm just going to do a little stationary cupping on Jason's shoulders. And basically this is my little tool that I use to create a suction. Traditional cupping is done with glass cups and fire, where you put some fire on an alcohol swab and put it in the cup and stick it on the skin. A lot of places don't like to see fire in their buildings, so this is just a nice way to create sort of the same effect. And again, if you get in here, you can just kind of see how the skin is sucked up into the cup, and that just really creates the suction. And like I said before, what I can do is I can just run this cup around, and it really feels nice along the shoulder blades, the scapula, up into the trapezius muscles, even up here where the traps attach up here, a lot of times people are getting headaches, and it's typically stemming from tight muscles down here. So if we can get in and release this area, it will help with the headaches that a lot of people experience in the back of the neck. And again, that's from just sitting at the computer a lot, doing this a lot, driving, just everyday wear and tear.
Sounds like you've been reading my mail.
Yeah. And as you can see, there's a little bit of redness on Jason's skin. Sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes there's like a dark purple color on the skin. That is not a bruise. That's different. Bruising is when you actually traumatize the muscle fibers, and cupping does not do that.
And by the way, it did feel good.
Yeah, and that was just a little taste. Now this is my acupuncture needles. They're very thin, like I don't even know if you can even pick up on how small they are. But these are solid through and through. They're made of stainless steel or titanium. And this is a one-time use, so we dispose of these into a sharps container. And I use ear acupuncture a lot because it's a direct message to the brain. So it's tapping into, for stress, anxiety, depression, addictions, weight loss, smoking censation, sleep. Insomnia is a big one. If someone has issues falling asleep, there's a lot of ear points that can help with that. And I'm just going to go ahead, put that in his ear, and he's got a nice new piercing.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, so I like to use ear acupuncture, and it's a nice way to bring the system down to relax and calm. No big deal.
No big deal at all.
Yep. And there's many points in the ears that we can tap into. I do scalp or head points to help with stress, sleep, anxiety. It's a anxious filled world that we're living in. So a lot of times when someone comes to see me, I'm calming the system first. I'll do points along the spine, which tap into the parasympathetic or calming nervous system of the body. And then we'll do a face-up treatment, and then I typically do points for whatever they're coming to see me for. But it's always a two-part. I'm always addressing the emotional mental health component and then whatever they're coming to see me for.
Well, and it's fascinating to me. We were talking earlier about I happened to wake up super early the other morning.
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
3 a.m.
And
Yep.
You knew what it was immediately.
Yep. 3 a.m. is, a lot of times people wake up at 3 a.m., have a hard time falling asleep. And I was telling Jason, in Chinese medicine, that's the time where we process our emotions and what happened during the day. And a lot of time we wake up because our brain is thinking we are running from this imaginary bear, and that could be, work, kids, job, finances, anything, and then we have a hard time falling back asleep. So there's acupuncture points that can actually help your body transition around that 3 o'clock time so you don't wake up. And I hear it a lot, especially now.
That's awesome. Did you want to go ahead and do a needle since you haven't started yet?
Sure. Let me go get the big long one. I'm kidding.
All right. Thank you, Dana, very much.
Yeah.